After a PC upgrade because of terrible performance and the school semester recently ending, I finally got the chance to play Monster Hunter Wilds. I started playing the longsword in Wilds since I wanted to try something new and felt that the beginning of the game would be the best time to do that. I had a great time going through the game, exploring new environments, finding brand new monsters. Nothing beats the excitement of defeating a monster for the first time and immediately checking the smithy to see what it looks like. Throughout my playthrough, however, I noticed that there are others who said that the longsword is too strong and became overpowered in the recent Wilds changes. Some even going as far as saying that the weapon needs nerfs. I didn't really think much of it, but the idea stuck with me throughout my playthrough. I was breezing through the early game through the fundamentals I gained from World. Once I reached AT Rey Dau, however, my fundamentals alone couldn't carry me anymore. See, before, I usually just did the Spirit Slash combo or used the Foresight Slash without much thinking to build Red Bar and then continuously attacked afterwards. This worked for me up to this point, but was a disaster against AT Rey Dau. Obviously, it was a lot faster than its regular counterpart, but my biggest issue was its lightning explosions after each attack. This destroyed my current playstyle with the longsword, in which I would pretty much Foresight Slash almost every move. It didn't work here since I would dodge the attack, but then get hit by the lightning explosions on the way back. I had to really take some time and learn the fight to develop answers for certain moves. I found that I should be using the sheath counter, something I never really used since I didn't think much about it or felt like I had to. This move was so powerful though, giving the player an entire bar if they counter at the right time. It also worked perfectly versus AT Rey Dau since I was able to dodge both the attack and the lightning explosions with it. Not only that, but this move was also spammable, making it so that I could sheath dodge, then sheath again right after. This is possible to do as many times as you want. Normally you can only do this if you counter at the right time, but even if not, you can cheat it out by starting a Spirit Unleash and then going to sheath immediately after with almost no downtime. I started using this technique for AT Rey Dau, and after a few attempts and practicing the timing for each move, I was getting the hang of it, eventually winning the fight. It was at this point that people's comments about the longsword being too strong came back to me. After this fight, I could understand more of what they were saying, and I think the reason for that is because I understood the longsword more at this point after having to seriously put more time into learning the weapon and this difficult fight. I realized that once I had gained proper experience with the longsword is when I understood how powerful it is. I'll be honest, a few months ago when I first played the beta, I felt that my main weapon, Charge Blade, was too strong, and I think this is why. It's because that I played the Charge Blade in previous games that I understood how powerful the changes made to it in Wilds were. And I think this is true for the longsword veterans as well. The reason I didn't think much about longsword being powerful is because I was new to the weapon. I didn't really comprehend the buffs it received in this iteration until I had gained more experience with it. After understanding the longsword more, I do think that the weapons in Monster Hunter Wilds are very powerful, at least the ones I have played, but not in a bad way. In fact, I actually think it's a good thing. The weapons being strong means that they have many distinct movesets, which give players many options and allows them to develop their own playstyle. They aren't so overpowered to the point that it becomes a beat-em-up game. You still have to understand what your weapon does and what the monster does and play accordingly, especially for the endgame monsters. And so I think the power level of weapons being on the stronger side is good for that reason. They allow players to do cool things and have fun while still offering a challenge. Weapons being strong in this way and giving players many options in their moveset is what gives Monster Hunter its identity and what makes this franchise unique. Compare this to the Souls games, for example. Most weapons only have 2 or 3 attacks, the animations feel slow or sluggish, and the combat movement is just the player walking and rolling, nothing else. These games make the player feel like they're weak, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. That's exactly the game's intention. The whole point of these games is to make the player feel like a peasant and go through the world which contains challenges that are perceived to be difficult or even sometimes annoying. And this is all possible due to the limitations and minimal options given to the player. At the end of the day, this is what makes the Souls games. It's what gives them their identity and made them very unique compared to other games. Going back to Monster Hunter, each weapon has a distinct playstyle. They all have many different attacks, various ways in the moveset to access those attacks, unique movement options, counters, perfect guards, you get the idea. In contrast to the Souls games, Monster Hunter offers the player so many options that it makes you feel like a hero, and that's because you are. You are the main character, the one to take down these huge monsters that the rest of the village sees as a threat. Of course, Monster Hunter isn't the first game to do this. What makes it unique is that the monsters are still challenging. Just because the weapons are strong doesn't mean you can just button mash through the game. It's still a challenge and you have to learn the monster's moveset as you continue through the game and adapt your play accordingly. When I fought Arc-Tempered Rey Dau, I was forced to take a step back and reevaluate how I would approach the fight. I had to consider other moves with the longsword and see what works best for each attack, developing my answers for them, eventually finding ones that work. And what's cool about this is that my answers to Arc-Tempered Rey Dau's moves are not the definitive answers. They're just the ones that I found and decided to use. There are probably many different ways to approach the fight, not just through the raw moves of the longsword, but also in your build. I find this to be the most enjoyable part of Monster Hunter, and it's what got me hooked in the franchise in the first place. To me, it's a good balance of giving the player many powerful options while also still offering a challenge. Whether you're a new player and struggle versus the earlier monsters, we've all been there at some point, or a veteran who eventually carts on the endgame missions, Monster Hunter has perfected this formula, and it's why Monster Hunter clones struggle to imitate it. Also, on a side note, I wasn't planning to talk about this since it's been discussed so much already, but I feel like I should address it since I feel that people may bring it up. People might watch this and say that the problem with Wilds is that it doesn't offer a challenge. It's instead too easy, and it's not necessarily the weapons being too strong, but the monsters are just weak or whatever. Listen, this is only the base game so far, and if you're coming from World like I am, you cannot unironically say that the base game in World was hard. Like, truthfully, Archveld is more difficult than anything in the base game World had to offer. I'm not talking about the updates of Arc-Tempered or Gigante or Behemoth. I'm just speaking from the base game at launch. If you are a veteran player, of course, Wild's base game will be easy for you. You understand the fundamentals of the game, which makes it easier for you to pick up any title in the franchise. It's very similar to a fighting game. Whenever a new fighting game is released, do you think everyone is on the same playing field since everyone is new to the game? Of course not. It's always the same pro players from other fighting games who dominate the scene, and it's because they developed fundamentals that will transfer to any fighting game they play. They will completely obliterate any new player to the genre, even if it's both their first time playing a new title. You can't expect everyone to be on the same playing field just because the game is new. Of course, a veteran of the Monster Hunter franchise will perform better than a new player. That's expected. I would be concerned for you if that wasn't the case. And just in case anyone says that me going through Wilds with a new weapon is proof that the game is easy, the truth is, once you have a good grasp of the fundamentals and learn a monster's moveset, you can clear it with any weapon. This is true even for difficult fights. Back in World, a friend and I would literally have a challenge for fun where we would spin a wheel of weapons and have to use the ones we were assigned in what was perceived to be some of the hardest fights in the game. We easily cleared most of the fights. This isn't to say that Iceborne is easy, I'm just showing how impactful it is to have a basic understanding of the game and know a monster's moveset very well. Those two things will take you very far regardless of which weapon you use. The weapons in Monster Hunter are very strong, but in a good way. It's what gives Monster Hunter its identity, and honestly is what makes it fun to play. They aren't so overpowered to the point that players just one-tap everything, but it's just right so that it allows players to feel strong, feel like they are the hero, while still offering a challenge. This isn't to say that all weapons are perfect and balanced as they are. I don't know all the weapons, and it's possible that some are much better than others. But for the most part, looking at Monster Hunter Wilds as a whole, I think it's completely fine. In fact, encouraged that the weapons are as strong as they are, since that's what the franchise is about. For those of you who made it to the end, I appreciate you watching this. If you enjoyed, please consider subscribing, leaving a like, or commenting, as it's the only form of feedback I have. So thank you again, and I will see you in the next one.